Hello everybody, my name's Jose. I was born and raised here in the city of Oakland. I was 12 years old in 1989, October 17, when the earthquake happened. And I remember it like it was yesterday. I mean, 20 years went by like that, it seems like. You know, 89 was a good year, you know. Too Short, the rapper, had Oakland on the map. MC Hammer was representing Oakland to the fullest. The A's, the Battle of the Bay, everyone was happy. Oakland was on the map that year. But Oakland will be on the map again that year in a crazy way. And October 17th at 5:04, I remember exactly what I was doing. The way everything happened that day was weird because it all kind of came into place in a weird way. I remember, I remember I was home that day alone. Nobody was home, and I remember it was really hot. I was watching TV. I was getting ready to watch the World Series. And my dad showed up. And my dad said, "Hey, you want to go to 7-Eleven? Because I used to live on Chapman Street in the Fruitvale District, not far from, there's a 7-Eleven on 29th Street, 29th Ave. So my dad was like, "You want to go to 7-Eleven to get a Slurpee? You know, it's hot." And I told my dad, "You know what, I want to stay home and watch TV." And then my dad took off. Then my dad came back all of a sudden, knocking on the door. He's like, "Hey, Jose, come with me to 7-Eleven, don't stay here." And I was like, "Okay." So we took off. It was me, my dad, and my little sister, who was 5 at the time, my sister Christine. And we ended up showing up at the 7-Eleven. He parked his car. I walked to the door, and he was still helping my sister out the car. I had the door in my hands, and I heard my dad say, "Está temblando!" In Spanish, that means there's an earthquake. And I looked at him, and I'm like, "Está temblando?" I'm like, I didn't feel nothing. But then all of a sudden, I seen the cars, and they looked like lowriders in a lowrider competition. And I'm like, "Oh, there's an earthquake." And then I started seeing the 7-Eleven go like this. So I let go of the door, and I ran to the middle of the parking lot with my dad, and we all held each other, terrified. And I remember looking at the ground, and the ground literally looked like waves like this. I mean, you could actually see the ground going like this. And I remember in my head thinking, "Man, so this is what the big one feels like." And when the earthquake stopped, me and my dad and my sister were all looking at each other like, whew, thanking God that we were alive. And then we got in the car because the dude from 7-Eleven told us, "Oh, we're closed, we're closing." So we jumped in the car, and we were heading down 29th, and we seen smoke coming towards where our house is. So we're like, "Oh no, I hope the house ain't on fire." When we drove towards the house, we found out a transformer had fallen on the car, and the car exploded into flames. And you know, we were all kind of scared, but we were hungry at the same time, believe it or not. And we drove around East 14th, and everything was closed. And I remember the old Montgomery Ward's building on 29th and East 14th, or International as it's called now. All the windows were busted. They were all on the ground, and part of the street was closed by the police because there was glass everywhere. And believe it or not, the only thing that was open, believe it or not, were the taco trucks on 29th Ave, right there where Goodwill is. They were already there back then. So we went there to eat some tacos. Then we were like, we got to go check up on my mom, because my mom was working at a rest home in Alameda at the time. We went to Alameda, and she was okay. We picked her up, and we gave her a ride to Los Mexicanos Market on High Street in East 14, because she was going to go cash her check. And I remember while I was waiting for her in the parking lot, I remember that all of East 14 was crowded with cars. I mean, there was cars everywhere. Even the AC Transits were packed like sardines. So we didn't know yet what had happened. We hadn't went home because we went to eat. We went to see if my mom was all right. So when we got home, we turned on the TV, and the cable was out. So my dad connected the antenna, because of course that was before digital cable and all this we have now. And we seen, you know, the Cypress had fallen, the Bay Bridge had fallen, the destruction in the Marina District, and we were like, man, it really was a big one. And I remember me personally, the Cypress structure collapse hit me hard. It freaked me out, and I'm going to tell you why it freaked me out when I actually seen that image of the freeway gone on the TV. It freaked me out because a month before, and I swear to God, this is a true story, a month before the earthquake happened, I remember me and my dad were going to Berkeley to watch a movie, because my dad is from El Salvador. A movie called Romero had came out at the time, and it was about Oscar Romero, the Archbishop of El Salvador. We were going to Berkeley to watch the movie because it was the only theater in the Bay Area that was playing the movie. And we were passing the Cypress, and I asked my dad, because I had watched the documentary about earthquake preparedness before that, and I asked my dad, hey, Pa, do you think if an earthquake happened, you think this freeway would handle it? And my dad told me, I don't know, son. And when I seen it actually fell, I mean, that creeped me out. Because I was like, man, it's almost like I predicted this happen or something. It was crazy. And you know what, I really learned a lot from this experience. You know, I became more, you know, I learned how to be more prepared from when an earthquake happens. And you know what really, another thing I learned about this experience is, like many people here have said, the people in the community that came together to help people in that cypress structure. You know, people from the neighborhood, from a neighborhood that gets, you know, a bad rep from society and the media in general always. Poor people, poor blacks, Latinos, and even whites that worked in the warehouses and factories, and Asians came together, because I knew some of the people that were there rescuing that day. They came together to help people, and people they didn't know, you know, they risked their lives, they risked everything, you know, to help people. And you know, that was a good thing, that people in a neighborhood like this could get together. You know, that just shows society that we could put our differences to the side and help people, you know, come together in a common goal. And you know, it's really it was really a good thing to see, you know, when I seen that happen. And one story from the Cypress I remember that to this day I'll never forget. I've never got a chance to meet this person, but one story that particularly hit me hard was the story of Julio Berumen. I'm not sure if you guys remember him. He was the 6-year-old boy who was traveling with his mom, and the car got crushed and his mom got killed, and he got pinned under the seat and they had to cut his leg off to get him out. I remember when I heard that story, it really put me to tears that night. It was really sad. And I was like, man, I couldn't even imagine what that family's going through. But you know, a lot of things I learned from that experience. You know, and you know, the earthquake, it's a very big reality. It could happen anytime. You know, in 1994 when the Northridge earthquake happened, I remember watching the TV thinking, man, I know what those people are going through. But you know, hopefully if I mean,